Hi, I'm Mark Clughorn. Welcome to the Photographer Academy, and today we're talking about wireless communication between speedlights and how to make your photography with flash a little bit more creative than it is. So the first thing is welcome to the playground. This is where some people will play well with each other and some people won't. It's the only way I can really explain it because in my playground I've basically got 6 different speedlights, okay? Some of them are designed to actually go together and some of them aren't. So in other words, I've got 2 little speedlights over here that will play well together, but they're only going to work in infrared. This little one here won't work with anything. It's just a speedlight by itself, and it's basically got no technology to do anything else except for change its power, work in TTL mode, and kind of doesn't do anything else. There are some exceptions. We're not going to go with that today, okay? But basically, in the simplest way, we can put that one and have a day off. So as far as the technology is concerned, when you're buying into your speedlights in today's kind of price bracket, especially with third-party flash, I would be recommending that you're looking at wireless options rather than infrared. These are technically old technology because they only communicate together with infrared. What does that mean? It basically doesn't allow them to work around a corner unless they can see the kind of the infrared communication. So even though they were great to begin with, they became obsolete in so many ways because of their limitations. However, one of them can still be a master and the other one can still be a slave, and vice versa, so I can use one or the other to do exactly the same thing, okay? But today we're talking about wireless. So let's put these away, just out of the side. And we're going to bring the 3 kids together who will play well in the playground. In this case, they're the Yongnu's YN600EXs. They're a Canon third-party kind of flash. All the technology that the Canon 600s have themselves, okay? But basically, these 3 little ones will work one as a master or a controller. Depends on the different kind of manufacturers. They call it in a slightly way, but Canon still call it master and slave. So one of them has to be a master. It's going to tell the others how to perform, but it's also going to tell itself how to perform as well, okay? It can still be a flash in its own right. What we're going to then look at is if we want to have a head teacher in the playground, we can bring in just the master. So in other words, the master is going to control all 3 flashes and so on. To be honest, if budget is really not on your side, I can understand why perhaps you're going to buy one of these and one of these, because straight away you get the flash off camera no matter what. However, just as a kind of a backup flash, and probably the first thing you're going to need is 2 flashes rather than 1, I would actually encourage you to buy a pair of the same things and things really. So anyway, let's set it up, okay? The first things first is communication. Now, all your different speedlights will communicate in a slightly different way. Remember the other kids in the playground that wouldn't play well with those? They're not going to play well, so we're leaving those, but they will communicate with each other, but basically it's a different language, a different technology and so on. So let's set it up, okay? Straight out of the box, if we put our flash on camera, first bit of advice I always give is learn how to reset, and just by double pressing these on this particular flash, it clears all the kind of the technology settings that I might have put in with it. So in a normal way now, I can basically just take a photograph and it's going to work, okay? It's working on a 1 flash. It's just not going to communicate with anything. In the same way, if I want to actually increase the exposure of the flash, I can go in and basically increase it by whatever I want. Or in the same breath, I can kind of decrease it in exactly the same way, okay? So again, it's working, but it's working as a sole flash. So even if the other flashes were on, it's not going to fire them, okay? So if I switch on somebody else in the playground, and I just press its reset as well. And if I switch the other one on in the playground, and I press its reset as well, it just means that we're all on the same kind of rules, as it were. So because this isn't set as a wireless, and neither are these set as slave, basically the only one that's going to fire is this solitary flash, okay? That's it. Let's watch it again. It's the only one that blips, all right? If I turn this towards you just for 1 minute, and I turn this one to you, don't look at this one, look at these two, you'll see they're not going to flash. They're not doing anything at all. All right. So how do we make them flash to begin with? The first thing we've got to do, of course, is take this one into its master mode. This little zigzag here, by pressing it, straight away on the Yongnu, puts it into this kind of screen here, and I could just scroll through it to the different kind of levels. And what I wanted to do is basically become the master, so that's with that kind of pulsating. And you would see the next one would be slave. Okay, so I've got two options here to work with, but that's really what I'm working in wireless. Going to press the set button. Now you can see in black here it's showing master, okay, by itself. All right. Now, even if I take the photograph, all right, it's not going to fire the others because these still haven't been set into a slave mode. All right. So all I've got to do now is on this little one, press the same button and turn this now into a wireless slave. So by doing that one straight away, if I just turn this to you now, he says, using the wrong button, all right, and if I press the button, you can see that it fired. Okay, so it's doing its job. That's what we're trying to achieve, that these two are communicating. We can tell it's communicating because what was a blue light has gone green. So this means that this is communicating with the other flash. If I was switching this one off physically, we can see how the link button has now gone into blue. It means it's got nothing to kind of communicate with. So basically it's ready to, but it can't do anything. So once more, we just switch this on and you'll see by default that it remembers it's a slave, okay? So as soon as we give it enough time, probably 5-10 seconds tops, it moves from a blue link to a green link, and you can see here it's moved to a green link as well, all right? So now these are basically doing their job. So in this case, straight away, I can pick up anybody else in the playground who's designed to play together and basically switch it on, quick press of its button, move it into a slave mode, and basically I'm done. Right, so all three of these now will flash as soon as it's linked. Okay, if I don't allow it enough time to link, it's not going to fire. So the first shot that we did, it didn't give it enough time to all work together and things really, but now it is. Once we've done that, we can start to work in a much more controllable way. Now, if we can see on here, in this flash, it's on A, and if I hold this one up, this is on A as well. So they're technically in the same group together. What we want to do is move them apart, okay? So we have more control of them. So obviously you'll all work slightly different with your flashes anyway, but there's a GR control. If I press that GR, straight away it changes this into B. Now if I change the same thing on this GR here, and I press it twice, this is now C, okay? So now I've got the master on camera is technically my A flash. My second flash over here is the B flash, and then the third flash is the C. So it's A, B, C in their groups. So why we do that, it basically allows you to start to look at what kind of exposure you want to do. So this is in kind of ratio. We want to actually then move it into individual control of each of the different flashes. Now, as you press through the different buttons, you're going to be able to either reset like I did there. So I've got the exposure is back to 0, in other words, yeah. That's the first thing because we underexposed it on the last shot. So if we continue to do that, all of the flash would go off and slightly underexpose the images. That's what we're telling it to do. What we want to be able to do now is actually move into where we can separate these all off together. So depends on the type of setup that you have on your flashes. If you've watched the basics of the setting up your Speedlight, we technically move from ETTL, yes, into manual, into multi, and then if I pressed the mode button again, when they're not in wireless master and commander slave mode, as it were, it would just go back to TTL again. As it is now, because we're in the master mode, we can now actually set the different flashes to work in a slightly different way to each other. What we're looking at is A is in ETTL mode, B is in ETTL mode, C is in ETTL mode, and so on, okay? So in this point, if I press group, and I press it, and then I dial down, I can now actually say, well, B, actually, I want you to be more exposure than A and C. Okay, so in other words, this might be my master, and I might have it as a bounce. It might even be turned around and kind of just flicking off a wall behind me or whatever it is. But as far as the group is concerned, once I kind of work what I want it to do, I'm going to go down in exposure here by 1. Yes. And then basically you can see in the ratio, we've got a +1 on the other one. If I then go back down to the other group, and I want that down into C, I can press it, and now I can say, okay, I want it to be 2 less. So now, if we were doing a little product photography or a portrait, whatever it is, as I take the photograph, okay, as it's set, as I take the photograph, all the flashes would fire in a slightly different amount because I've set them to fire in a different amount with it. And we can either work in ratio, which we're going to do a complete film on for you, or we can work in setting up the exposure values of them, actually telling them to either have more or less power and things really. So the heart of this film was to make sure that simply you can communicate here. I mentioned that this one can also act as a slave as well. And to do that, remember, all we need to do is basically press the little side, and I've moved it into the slave mode. Now I need to change its group. It's in A, B, C, D, E, and back to A. We want it as A. We select it as that one. Technically, this is ready now. Let me just get a cold shoe. A cold shoe is just something that we can kind of sit the flash on. I'm just going to unclick it, stick it onto here, and basically now this is ready to go. All right, so this is A, this is B, and this is C. If I want to swap those around, because A, B, C would make more sense here, agreed? All I got to do, remember, is press group, moves it, group, into B. So now I'm basically A, B, and C. Then this is the little master, like I was saying to you before, okay? That basically is kind of tells all these what to do. So if I just switch it on to begin with, and it's going to kind of try and find other things to talk to. Look at the red link first. I want to just clear this to begin with. Oh, it's gone green already. I didn't expect it to be as fast as that, all right? But I'd usually, go through the reset of kind of hold in there, and it'll just go into the reset, press and hold those. It's cleared. All right, now at this stage, once I put it onto the hot shoe, I can tell it what to do. So again, once more, just let it go out of there. If I press in the modes, I've got full control. Do I want to actually control all of them in a different way, or do I want them all to be the same? As it is now, you can see in the master, they're all going to fire a 16th flash. So if I just basically press something, what is there going to be in here, whether it's your ratios, how I want them to actually work together, you can see A, B, and C. So like we just did on the other one, if we press A and we say, you are now going to be my main flash, you're going to be going at a half power. Then I'm going to go to the B flash, and I'm going to say you're my hair light, so I'll keep you on the likes of an 1/8 power. And now I'm going to actually work down to my C flash, and you're going to be my backlight. So now I'm going to put you down to the likes of 1/32 power. So from there now, as soon as I basically pop the controller now onto the hot shoe, now basically Because we've got all the green links, remember that's what we're looking for here, is all of these lights to actually kind of work. So from here now, I can, from this one controller, tell all the flashes to fire. So if we just go to the wide shot, you can see basically all of these flashes are going to be doing their job in their own way. And when you see the kind of the film that we're going to create on ratios and kind of setting up the flash and exposure with it, the first thing that we need to know is how the communication works, because we might want one as a backlight. Yeah, we want one as a hair light. We want one to actually create the exposure. Whatever it is, we need to have those controls. So as far as setting up your flash is concerned, if you have nothing else except for 2 flashes that will play in the playground together, I'm okay with that. Once you've then got some budget, if you can start to use the likes of a controller or a 3rd flash, you really start to actually kind of go into the realm of creative off-camera flash photography. Hope I haven't made it too complicated for you and I've unraveled some of the kind of the black art of wireless to wireless communication. See you on the next film. Take care. Bye-bye.